Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we begin a 10-day countdown to Halloween itself. And in the spirit of the last 10 days of Halloween and the Halloween season, there is, I think, no better way to approach the season than with a really good horror movie. And we could compare and debate the merits of movies versus any other form of entertainment, but that's not really what this entry is about. There we go, that's better. Good evening. 10 days remain in the 31 days of Halloween. So I thought that a great way to celebrate those last 10 days would be to look at 10 horror movies that are perfect for these remaining days. And of course, when you say perfect, it's subjective, it's my opinion. So as we go through these 10 days, there will be some movies you won't agree are great. But I think, or you may think they're great, maybe you haven't seen them, maybe you haven't seen them in a while, maybe you've never heard of them. But some of them you may say, it wouldn't be on my list, and that's fine. It's my list, and I'm hoping that you will find something in here that you've never heard of, or perhaps have heard of, never tried. And that's certainly the case with tonight's entry, the first choice that I have. It is a movie that I discovered way back in the, early 90s when I was in high school. Now, to give a little connection to last night when I talked about my love of the novel Dracula, as I learned about this new movie at the time, 1994, this movie being made called Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, I began to learn more about the novel. It was about a year or so before the movie, so 93. And as I learned more about it, read articles, I saw, even in interviews, there was an HBO making of Bram Stoker's Dracula that we had a preview weekend because we didn't have HBO. And we had a preview weekend, and there it was. So, and that movie was Nosferatu, and I thought it was such a strange word. And then when I read the novel, that word was in there, Nosferatu. And I learned, of course, that it meant unclean, and that it was the name of a movie. And so I thought, well, I'd really like to see this movie. Now, this is pre-Netflix. This is pre-Amazon.com, where they have just about every movie. This is pre-eBay, where they have every movie again that you can imagine. So I was not sure if I'd ever get to see it. Went to the local Blockbuster, which was just a heavenly place for me. I mean, video games, but lots of movies, lots of obscure movies. This is still before Blockbuster kind of just had like 400 copies of the hottest movies and nothing else, right? This was when they still got some obscure stuff, and it was kind of like more of a mom and pop Blockbuster at the time than what it became later on. So I went over there, and sure enough, in horror, Nosferatu. Now, the story behind this movie. This is the Blu-ray cover for the edition by Kino International. They have done what is generally agreed by most fans of this movie to be the highest quality restoration. And the reason that matters for this movie, it's not to sound snooty or to show your knowledge of movies. It's because this movie shouldn't really exist. We shouldn't really even have ever seen Nosferatu. Had it been for Bram Stoker's wife, we never would have. Because she did not want it to exist. And so why is that? Because in 1922, F.W. Murnau, who's a German director who worked in the genre of German expressionist filmmaking, decided that he wanted to adapt Dracula because he saw, as anybody who's read the novel sees, all the potential there for a wonderful story. And he, of course, wanted to make a lot of analogies and commentaries on social situations going on within his own country at the time and in life in general. And he saw that was within Dracula, and he wanted to write a script. He went to secure permission from Bram Stoker's widow, who at the time had control of the rights, and she refused. So Murnau, being the kind of resolute artist that gets things done, said, I'm going to just change the names. I'm going to make my own movie. And so he renamed all the characters. He renamed Count Dracula Count Orlok, and he renamed the name of the movie Nosferatu, knowing that probably Orlok would not have been a very catchy title. Nosferatu was a word that had an allure, it had a mystery, and was something that probably people back then, having been pretty well read, knew the meaning of the word, right? And that's really what this movie is about. One of the themes it really primarily deals with is uncleanliness, and specifically of plague, right? So, 1922, Murnau goes and he films this excellent movie called Nosferatu. He gets this actor who had been known for his stage roles and limited movies, again, 1922. So this is a silent film. And he gets Max Schreck. Max Schreck is a guy who, at the time, kind of a character actor, kind of disappeared into roles. And he took on the role of Count Orlok. And so well did he play this role that even years later, a movie would be made. And when I say years later, about 10 or 15 years ago, called The Shadow of the Vampire. And the premise of that movie, which I highly recommend, Willem Dafoe plays Max Schreck, right, as Count Orlok. The premise of that movie is that he wasn't an actor. Max Schreck really was a vampire that they ended up getting for Nosferatu. So he really got into this role, and he looks so horrific. He's got a bald head, a little bit of hair, pointy ears, these wide, big eyes that he only once in his 9 minutes of screen time, which doesn't sound like a lot, but he makes the most of it. His 9 minutes of screen time, he blinks once. And otherwise, he is constantly staring, and it's horrific. And he's got these big bushy eyebrows and these rat-like fangs. So, sort of like Stoker's idea of old Dracula when Harker first meets him, you know, kind of the hair and the heavy eyebrows. But then the rat-like appearance was unique to Murnau, and probably he needed to do that to be able to make the movie. He couldn't make him exactly like he was in the novel because he didn't have the rights to the novel. So he films this movie, which has gone on to become legend. And the reason is because when Stoker's widow found out about this movie, she did everything in her power, which apparently was considerable, to destroy and have destroyed every copy. One copy remained, or a few copies from what I understand, and those were distributed throughout the world. They survived. There are versions, you know, there are copies of copies, and as you do that, the quality diminishes. So it's not until you get the very best print that you're going to see the highest quality, and that's where Kino came in. They restored a very good print, and this is a Blu-ray quality, and it is like you were seeing this movie on the screen in 1922, in as much as we can probably guess what that looked like. So it's beautiful. And this is one of the most haunting, terrifying horror movies you'll ever see. It is, there's no gore, there's no blood, it's a silent film, which I think only enhances it. It's in black and white, which I think makes things more scary, in my opinion, movies in general, and pictures. So it really is a movie that, if you're going to watch Nosferatu, and I highly recommend you do, you got to be in the mindset. So don't watch this at 10 o'clock on a Friday night when you're kind of half asleep and you just want to put something on. Don't watch it when you're in the mood for action or comedy, romance. Put it on when you are in a awake mood to watch something that is unique and different, and you're going to have an open mind, all right? And maybe watch it with friends, because I think it's a great experience to do that. I have shown it at our Moloween, our annual Halloween parties over the years. Now, I don't play the movie on its own. I play a couple other movies at the same time with the sound off, and then, you know, party music going behind that. And people, my guests, have always been really intrigued and had kind of stopped and watched it. So it has this quality to it. It's unearthly, and it's an achievement that it has this creepy ability to draw you in. And it's a powerful story. And I don't want to say that it's better than Dracula as a novel, because I don't think that's ever been done justice in movies, so you can't really say it's better than any Dracula movie, although some have said that. But I will say it's better than 1931's Dracula with Bela Lugosi, that everybody knows, you know, everybody and their grandmother knows, that's Dracula. Well, this Dracula movie, even though it's not called Dracula, is better at being Dracula than Dracula. Okay, that's my opinion. All right, I love the 1931 Dracula, but Nosferatu to me is superior. So, kids, where can you get it? It is on Amazon. You can stream it on Amazon, rent it. I bought this Blu-ray. It's a pretty hefty Blu-ray. I got it a few years ago. Had some money put aside. It was a $30 Blu-ray, but that's because there's not many of them left. You can also, Netflix had it for a while. In fact, they had it last Halloween. Netflix, just want to take a shot at Netflix right now. They suck because they've taken a lot of their great horror movies, like Night of the Living Dead, Nosferatu, all of the Scream movies, which really the first and second are the best, and they've really kind of pared things down. It's a shame. They even had The Haunting, the great Robert Wise horror movie from the 1960s, which still holds up today. Took all that off. Now they got all this cheap, indie crap, which there's nothing wrong with indie movies, but a lot of this is, it's garbage. So anyway, Nosferatu, you can find it there. You can order the Blu-ray or the DVD online on Amazon. Won't find it in stores. Probably not even going to find it like Barnes & Noble or FYE or places where they have obscure movies. I don't recommend buying any copy unless it's the Kino, Kino, DVD or Blu-ray. Simply because it's like Night of the Living Dead and some of these other movies. There are so many versions since it's in the public domain that it's been copied so many times. There's some really crappy copies. This, though, fantastic. So, Nosferatu on this 21st day of the 31 days of Halloween as we kick off a 10-movie countdown to Halloween night. Enjoy. Let me know what you think once you watch it. And to give you a taste of it, following this video is a trailer for 1922's Nosferatu.